Welcome back. I'd like to tell you a quick story that hopefully might be able to help you in some way when it comes to energy and maintaining your own energy. In 2006, I went up north to Northern California to visit a cousin of mine. When I go to visit her, she often asks, how is the family doing? How are these cousins doing? Those cousins doing? I guess some of the news I had to tell her that summer was not too happy or something, because for some reason she decided, Alex, you have to go see Jan. Jan was a healer. What kind at the time? I didn't know. I just knew that I was supposed to go see her and it was really going to be worth it, worth my $80, I believe. I really love my cousin, so I was completely trusting. I also am always looking into new ways of healing and willing to use myself as the guinea pig. So I said yes. So I went to this woman's house. It was on a hillside looking over the ocean. It was completely beautiful. I walked in, met with this woman who was an elderly woman, and she was very gentle, very sweet, very nice, seemed very wise, very comfortable with herself. She simply smiled and said, okay, come on in. I've been waiting for you. She led me into a room that was specific for her healing, I can tell. One kind of table that I was supposed to be lying on. Not really a massage table, but a table I was supposed to be laying down on my back. And I did. I stepped on a couple steps, lay down on my back. And one of the first things she started doing was clearing my energy field. And she explained this to me while she was doing it. She was kind of grabbing at things and she was flicking them away, or maybe even putting her hands in some kind of water. I'm not sure. But she was doing that. And she explained to me kindly, I am just clearing your energy. What you have around you is kind of like what you would think of as cobwebs. And I'm just taking that and just getting it off of your energy field. That's it. While she was doing this, she was also telling me information and discussing with me things that I didn't know and things that she knew about me that she could have never known. When I asked her where she was getting this information from, she was saying, well, you have spirit guides and they are telling me exactly what you need to hear. After she cleared my energy field, she used a crystal, a quartz crystal, a huge one, to clear my chakras. This is a process called dowsing that I was to learn about in the future and practice myself. One of the last things she told me about before I left was about coats, different types of coats. Now she said, I want you to think about the people who are connected to you in your life. I want you to see them and imagine that they actually have like a coat that they put on you. Now I want you to practice this often, maybe every day before you go to bed, maybe every morning, however you want to. But imagine yourself taking off this coat, looking the person in the eye who gave it to you, saying, thank you, I give this back to you with love and gratitude, but it is yours, not mine. She warned me about a person who was draining my energy. And of course, right after that, that was the first person I did that with in my mind's eye. She said, maybe you might find that when you see this person in your mind's eye, maybe they might refuse the coat and not want to carry it. That's fine. Maybe they will grab it and take it from you with smiles. That's fine. But she said, regardless, try to remember to do this. So fast forward, about 5 years later, I left with my wife from Los Angeles and went back to visit my cousin again. My cousin really wanted to meet my wife. She was very excited about me getting married and wanted to talk about kids in the future and all these different things. And I asked her when on my visit, I said, hey, is there any way that we can try to fit in an appointment to go see Jan? She said yes. She said that she would set it up right away. My wife and I went back. She welcomed me in, went into the same room, lied down, and the first thing she started doing was clearing my energy field, clearing, the cobwebs, I guess she called it. She stopped right away. What happened to the coats? And I said, what? She said, the coats. That's what they're telling me. They're telling me you haven't done any of the coat stuff. And I sat there and thought, like, that's real? I was really supposed to do that? After that whole meeting, she gave me so much information. I left that day with writing the things down that she told me that were important in my life that I should remember. But there's one thing that I definitely remembered, and it is shared energy, that we share each other's energy. We are constantly connecting to other people, putting coats on other people, taking other people's coats. And if we're not clearing that, we're going to be in big trouble. And that's what I want to talk about today. And I'm hoping that this will be able to heal you and give you peace. So after that last visit to that healer, I remembered something that I took with me forever, wherever I went. And that's that we wear these coats, we share energy, we put coats on other people. Another healer that I went to that I really respect and love said that we have cords connected to these people and that we have to cut the cords sometimes. And whenever I've gone through this process of cutting cords or removing these coats, I feel re-energized. Now, it can be difficult. It's not the end all to all your problems, so I don't want you to start thinking that. But it can really help. Like I said, I went to that woman, Jan, who told me about a person who was draining my energy. Then I went to another healer who didn't even know who she was, had nothing to do with her. He told me the same person was draining my energy. I knew that some of these people were draining me, even though they were people that said they love me and I love them. I meditate usually daily now, and one of the first things I do is I just think of it as like almost like taking a shower. I remove coats from the people in my life. Now, who are the people that I do this with, or who are the people that you might want to think about doing this with? Maybe there's some strong people in your life with strong wills, or that seem to have a lot more energy, and the energy just seems to be a little bit bombarding, good or bad energy, whatever you want to call it, just heavy energy. Maybe there's a way you can cut cords from them. When it comes to long-time relationships, like family relationships you had since you were a baby, think about those coats. Think about these things that people put on us, whether it's like, oh yeah, you're always going to be the fat kid, or yeah, you were always like the one who didn't do well in school, or you were the most athletic. It's very difficult when you get to your 30s and 40s and you start thinking like, I really want to change my life. I don't want to be that kid. Well, maybe, hopefully, cutting cords and taking off these coats might be able to help. Or maybe it might be somebody that you encounter daily. If you think about it, you have to go to work and maybe you have a really horrible boss or a horrible coworker. Or even calling them horrible is actually putting a coat on them, isn't it? Let's think about it this way. Someone who has a very difficult life, whatever home they're coming from, whatever they're dealing with, and they come to work and then dump it on you. That's what I'm talking about. And you carrying it isn't going to make anything any better. I don't know, maybe right now you can write down in the comments maybe people that are close to you who you think completely drain your energy and don't want to tell anybody. Don't worry, you can write it in the comments. I won't say anything. But you're more than welcome to vent it out here, because this is what we need to do, right? So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to cutting cords and removing coats to be able to help you. Now I want to show you a little diagram, a little drawing that I all did that might be able to help out visualize how this can be done, what's done. So, as you can see, there's an image here of a man, and I made the image blue. This is going to signify clear, clean, like water. So, none of us are really like that as grown adults, right? Is that right? But I want you to imagine that. Imagine that you yourself can be like a child, like a clear slate, and water is clear. Things can travel through it. Even people believe that thoughts can be put onto water. There have actually been studies that show that are very interesting, very beautiful actually, and how words can affect water. I want you to think about that when you see this image here, because when we come into this world, we are a clean slate. Doesn't it feel like it? We see little infants brand new to this world and wonder, what are they dreaming? Where exactly did this soul come from? I like to believe that the cords around this image of a man right here are golden. That's why I made them yellow, because I believe that we have cords connected to us and that we come here with a pretty clean slate. And that's the way babies are, that's the way we are, but that changes, doesn't it? Because when we have children, they start growing older, they go to school, they meet different people, they meet different family members. We interact with other human beings on this earth. and we're all made up of very different things. And what happens is eventually that we share some of these things. We share these things with people, all different types, all shapes and colors. And some of those things that we share do not exactly just fade away, I believe. I believe that sometimes, or I should say, I have felt in my life that some of these things sometimes have a lasting impression on you. And some of these connections don't exactly get cut. Maybe they are beliefs. Maybe they are a way that you were taught as a child. But eventually, that clear slate ends up becoming a person who has been affected by the world and has brought on different traits. Think about this in terms of just barely becoming a teenager and deciding, this is who I am. It's this style of clothing I wear. It's this group that I hang out with. You're not really your pure self anymore. You're influenced by your environment, which is a great thing. That's a very good thing. It creates your story, helps you to create your story. But as we see, like with teenagers sometimes, certain different types of choices that we have, kids want to be famous. It's like, my kids right now are like, I want to grow up to be like Ryan from Ryan's World. They really like it. They don't think about the effect that might have on them. This is just from, an image that I did signifying maybe a bit of popularity compared to someone who is like my kids. I try to explain to them, this is what going after fame looks like for me, is that you're opening the door to all these people who can attach to you, who dream about you, think about you, put cords on you, put coats on you, in a good light or a bad light. And then even beyond this now, I think for those of us who live at home and just hang out and do social media, that has gotten really drastic. It's really changed our lives. We interact with people that we don't even know. There's, things that we can just scroll by and not comment on, but sometimes you comment and start getting into a bit of a argument with somebody over the internet. These things can have a lasting impression on a person. I believe it. I don't believe that you feel it, especially when you're younger and you have a lot of energy, but when you get older, a person can change. It can hurt them. It can start leaving a lasting effect. And what you're left with are huge changes that you want to make in your life to get back to this. But that's not exactly the way it works, does it? So when we're stuck in this, we keep on trying to find a way out. How can I clear myself? Maybe I just need to be away from people for a long time. I need to leave. I need to separate from people. And sometimes that doesn't even help. I think sometimes, we think that we're actually separate when we're actually still this. We think that we're away from everyone. We think that's going to solve the problems, but we're carrying the weight. So I think that removing the coats, and from what I was taught with that, was slowly but surely able to get me closer to this. And the reason why I believe that is because I felt a brand new energy in a lot of the cleansing that I was doing. And I also listened to stories. The great stories. The reason why I call myself Legendary Daddy is that story is where I get most of my stuff, where I try to find the answers. And when there are stories about, the prodigal son who leaves and goes and parties and does his thing, but then comes back and, forgive me, I made some mistakes. Yeah, well, the father that lets him back in, what he's truly saying is, you were supposed to do that. You were supposed to go off and party as much as you wanted to and have a good time. You were supposed to do this. But when you come back, you got to always know you're welcome back and you're forgiven. And if you do a good enough job at being able to find your way, whether that's taking off coats, going on a retreat, becoming what people call new agey, joining a new religion that you feel that might adapt to your personality a lot better, you can kind of get back to this. But with the world we live in, you'd be fooling yourself if you don't realize that this is going to happen again. And there's no really reason to get upset about it, because this is the life we live. This is what happens. What is very drastic and very sad, that what we've seen in life sometimes, even for a child with a clear slate, sometimes when it comes to bad surroundings, they can be brought up with something like this. And it's almost like they don't have a chance. But just like we can look at that truthfully, I want you to see and understand that we have written texts from more than one wise prophet on this earth that has laid out a plan on how you can do this. And that in doing that, you don't really have to worry too much about the outside. Because that light that shines inside of you, that little piece of God that is in you, is something miraculous, healing, and something that you can give to others. I would like to invite you to share this to anyone you think that, with anyone you think that might be able to use it. There are a lot of people wearing a lot of coats and going through a lot of troubles right now. And I'm going to talk further about the prophets, but when it comes down to it, I really truly do believe this is possible. And if someone can do it better than me, then I'll post your video. I'll promote you, and I'll watch your YouTube channel, because I believe in this. So when it comes to these cords and coats, I love it. I love looking at this and just experimenting with it and thinking back in my past. If you really think, forgiveness is so awesome. People think of it as so stupid or surrendering or being the weaker one. It is a trick to your mind to think that forgiveness is actually weakness. Forgiveness might in fact clear up some of these cords. It might burn through some of these coats. It might be able to do some things that are very powerful. Forgiveness really is helping the person doing the forgiving than is the person that is being forgiven. And I believe that. I really do believe that's true. I want to mention something right now. I want to mention prophets. Okay? So prophets in writing, let's just say in writing, prophets are an archetype. Okay? They have a certain way that they go about things. They're not the big hero with the big muscles that saved the princess. It's not what they do. The prophet, their story is that they somehow go through extraordinary challenges and go to a different place. A place in the heart, a place in the mind, or a place that's otherworldly. And when they come back with gifts. That's what the prophet Muhammad was. Jesus was a prophet. Buddha was a prophet. I want to talk about the prophet that they mention in the book, The Four Agreements. Now, the prophet in the book, The Four Agreements, he calls himself the smoky mirror. Now, I encourage you to read the book, The Four Agreements, but for those of you who've read it, and for those of you who don't, I don't really want to get too far into it, but I want to explain to you that if you've seen this or read it, you know that he explains that most of our creation, everything that it's based off, is lies and truth. What we create in our minds, that is our reality. And that if we keep a clear mind and a clear heart, we'll have a happiness around us. And that there are people who create black magic, who create lies nonstop in this world. And they put curses on people. And those hurt not only themselves, but the people around them. Isn't that kind of like coats? Isn't that what we're doing to other people? Isn't that what other people are doing to us? I encourage you to read the book, because what this prophet had to say to explain to the people about what life is all about, he explained it's pretty much your thoughts and your words. That's not too different from the Buddha, Jesus, saying, if your enemy strikes you, turn the other cheek and let him strike you there too. That's a very difficult teaching to follow. I even heard some people do interpretations of where they were saying, like, turning the other cheek meant hit me with respect. Hit me with your respected hand, or how you would hit a man. To me, that's completely misses the message. To me, turn the other cheek is, if you want to be like me, if you want to be like Jesus and have this light that shines out of you, that's able to heal others, then do not create black cords, no matter what. Your neighbor hits you, give him a golden cord. Someone cheats on you, give him a golden cord. Your family was horrible to you, give them golden cords. I practice this. I had some huge challenges come up in my life being a daddy, and when I really made some great decisions, it seems like all of the adversaries that could find me came after me and were like, no, we're not going to let you get to that next level. And with all this love and your messages that you're trying to send, there's no way. And during that time, I was really invited to fight quite a bit. And I guess people can try to say like, oh, you're going to, I see what you're doing. You're killing them with kindness. No, it wasn't. I was keeping all of my cords nice and golden. I imagined that there was like a guitar string coming from my body, okay? And that there's a bunch of gunk on it from what the other person has put on, connected to me. And what I would do is I would just look at them and say, I completely forgive you. I know that you feel pretty rotten for wherever you're coming from, but dun, we're good. I'm happy. This saved my ass. It truly did. It made my light shine brighter than I've ever known. I should also tell you that I fail at this often. It's very difficult. When you're living life, you're really thrown into some good battles that you're supposed to be fighting. And it's tough. But with practice, you always remember that the light is energizing and that most people fall because of their own darkness. Isn't this what Martin Luther King did? Isn't this what Gandhi did? Isn't this what you can do? It's the truth. It really is. Not that easy, but it's the truth. I think the last thing I want to share with you is that the person who was draining my energy over years and years and years that I heard about was my mother. They kept saying, your mother is draining your energy. And they said, don't be upset. There's no reason to be really upset. This is a very natural, normal thing, but your mother's draining your energy. I remember talking to someone who explained being around my mother and saying, you know what, it is sometimes such a big pain to be around her. It's so difficult. Always got this fight in her and I don't know what to do and it takes me down. And I explained to this person my story about how, I saw a healer in Northern California and this person said, your mother's draining your energy. I met a healer in this town that we live in and they said, your mother drains your energy. And this person I told was completely upset. They heard that and thought, that's not really right for you to say that about your mom. So think about the cords that you want to keep attached to you out of loyalty, out of what you were taught, out of shame and guilt. You'll feel guilty if you cut that cord. And then think about what you actually want to do in life, where you belong in life, and maybe start plugging into the right people to help us all get there together. Think about some people with coats that you wear that would be either thin coats, maybe really thick coats, and how those people affect your life and what it would mean to be able to take that coat off and be free in a way. I encourage you to write those down in the comments. I would love to hear from them. Okay, that's it. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. If you like the information, would like to hear more, and leave a message in the comments for anything that you might think that I didn't cover, or if you have any more questions. I love being able to get back to anybody who is seeking help or seeking healing, because I love this stuff. So leave a comment and like and subscribe if you can. Peace.